What's up, you guys? Michael Elefante here. Some of you may have seen a few recent videos of a mountain house that we invested in that we rent out on Airbnb and VRBO. Now, in one of those videos, I talked about the investment numbers. Now, this is before we actually closed on the house. Now that we've closed and have had it listed for about 15 days, we have seen a dramatic increase in activity on Airbnb and far exceeded our expectations from a revenue standpoint so far. So what I'm gonna do today is update these numbers and tell you guys how in revenue alone, not including loan pay down and appreciation, although we will talk about those things, revenue alone for this property will exceed $125,000 a year. Now, in a second video, you guys probably saw the transformation that we did. Now, if you guys want to check out the transformation video after watching here, it will be in the description below. I show you guys the before and after photos and then walk you through everything that we actually changed about the property. It really was an amazing transformation, and that has been the most viewed video I've posted so far on YouTube. So guys, definitely go check it out. Within the first week of listing this property on Airbnb, we generated $29,000 in bookings between October 16th and December 31st of 2020. Now, since then, we have eclipsed $30,000 in net bookings revenue between October 16th and the end of the year, which is incredible. So before I break down these numbers, hopefully you guys can break the like button by hitting it so hard. I really appreciate it. In all seriousness, for those who like my videos and subscribe, it means a lot to me and it helps me grow my channel. So if you guys haven't already subscribed yet, please do subscribe today. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's cut to the chase. I know you guys are probably wondering, how in the world are you gonna generate $125,000 a year with just one property? So let's get into the numbers and really break this down so you guys have a good understanding of how this works. Now, our average nightly rate is projected to be right at around $550 per night. Some of the nights throughout the year, especially during the slower months like January, February, and early March, the weekday prices will be between $300 and $400 a night, so a little bit less. But the weekends and then the summer months and holidays, we're charging anywhere from $650 to $1,250 per night. So we break that down and have about an average of $550 per night. The house is located in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and the average occupancy in this area the past 12 months has been around 70%. But for conservative estimates, I went ahead and used a 62% occupancy rate, which equates to 228 nights per year booked. So it's pretty easy to calculate the annual gross revenue. You take the average nightly rate multiplied the nights occupied throughout the year. So 550 multiplied by 228 nights brings us to $125,400. Now, if you guys divide that by 12, you're gonna get the average monthly revenue. Again, some months this might be way higher, some might be a little bit lower. All you have to do is divide that number by 12 in order to get the projected monthly revenue we're expecting, which is $10,450 per month. Now remember, this is not our cash flow and not our net profit. So we do have expenses throughout the month. So before you guys jump to conclusions, we're not netting over $10,000 per month. All right, so we have to include our expenses in order to get our net cash flow or our net profit per month and ultimately for the year. As I mentioned before, we took a loan out from the bank. So we have a mortgage to pay each month, which is the bulk of our expenses. Now, our mortgage does include a few different factors. It includes principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and private mortgage insurance, since we put less than 20% down on this investment with the bank. The total mortgage amount per month is going to be the same over the course of the 30-year period of the loan as $2,596 per month. Now, we also have to include the operational expenses. What does it cost to operate the property? Now, the bulk of this is going to be Wi-Fi and TV, what other subscription services you may provide for your guests, what are the utility bills, gas, water, electricity. Also included in this will be maintenance, repairs, HOA fees, and things of that nature. This number is ballpark to be about $1,145 per month. So if you add those two numbers up, we get $3,741 per month in average monthly expenses. So in order to calculate our cash flow for the month or our net profit, our take-home pay as an investor, all we have to do is take the revenue number and then subtract our total monthly expenses. So this brings us to $6,709 per month in cash flow. Now, if you multiply this by 12 months, you get our projected cash flow for the year, which is around $80,508. Now, don't let this scare you away if it sounds like a lot of work to manage a property. It's really not a lot of work. Once you have it set up and you have the right systems in place, it's actually pretty hands-off. You don't need to pay a property manager and fork up 15 to 30% of your gross revenue and pay them to manage it for you. There are so many tools that has basically democratized short-term rentals and allowed people like you and me to operate these with pretty great ease. You can use applications such as YourPorter or SmartBnB to manage the messaging between guests, manage your listing, and automate messages, automate communication with your cleaners. And then we use a tool called Pricelabs to actually set our pricing criteria up. And then Pricelabs will auto-adjust the pricing based on, the season, holidays, demand, and other things like that. So before you guys go, let me compare this to the average returns that you would expect to see in investing in the stock market. Most of you guys have probably heard constantly from financial advisor commercials that you could get 8% year-over-year compounded interest return on your investments in the stock market, which is pretty good. But if you could maximize the amount of return you get on your money, wouldn't you want to do that? Now, there are many different metrics that you guys can use out there to help calculate, potential returns on your investment from various standpoints. But there are two that we're going to focus on today, especially in comparison to investing in things like the stock market or a 401k. The first one is called cash on cash return. And it's exactly what it sounds like. And this one is most comparable to investing in the stock market and seeing an 8 or 10% return for the first year. Cash on cash return is simply taking the annual cash flow that we expected, in this example it was $80,508, and dividing it by the total money invested out of pocket. And the second metric, which we'll get to later, is total return on investment. And this one is more important when you're looking at a more holistic approach to real estate investing long term, because it accounts for principal paydown or loan paydown, which is your guess paying off the house for you, and also accounts for estimated appreciation over the long term. So that is really how we calculate building our net worth through real estate investment over many, many years. So for this house, we put 10% down, which was $55,000, plus some closing costs. Now, remember, as I said earlier in the video, the seller and I actually negotiated for them to pay $10,000 of our closing costs and our title fee, which has ended up being over $2,000 too. So our total out of pocket was $58,052. But that's not all the money we invested, right? Because we had to sink some money in it to, again, renovate the place, add some additional beds to increase the head count, the amount of people that we can accommodate per group, so we can make more money throughout the year. So we ended up sinking $49,000 into this house, getting it from what it was before to what it is today. So if you add those two numbers together, the total out-of-pocket investment amount that we made was $107,052. So now we calculate our cash on cash return. And this is simply just taking the amount of net cash flow we expect for the year, dividing it by the number of dollars that we invested upfront out of pocket. So we take that $80,508 and then divide it by $107,052, which brings us to 75% cash on cash return during the first year alone. Now that literally destroys investing in a 401k, and that's why personally I stopped investing in a 401k recently, because I wanted to maximize my return on investment, and I realized how much more you could get from investing in real estate, especially in the short-term rental market. So now we need to account for not just the cash flow, but we're going to calculate the total return on our investment. Okay, so this is going to account for principal paydown. Again, we're paying off a loan each month, so a little bit of that goes toward principal and the rest goes toward interest. And over the course of time, over the course of that 30 years, you're gonna pay more and more and more each month in principal and less and less toward interest till you pay off the loan to the bank, and you get to keep everything that you paid in interest, right? You paid that loan down. So for the first 12 months, we took the average of the amount paid in principal each time. You can look at on a mortgage statement balance, you can look at an amortization schedule and see the levels of principal versus interest that you're paying each month. And that came out to an average of $875 per month for the first year. Now remember, this is part of our expenses when we're calculating our cash flow, but in reality, this is a portion of what the guest is paying us. Again, paying for our expenses. They are actually the ones paying the house off for us. Isn't that incredible? Somebody else is paying for you to gain equity in the house and build your net worth up. So if you take $875, multiply it by 12 months, we get a net gain in principal equity position in the house of $10,500. And again, each year, this is actually going to be an increased amount every single year over the course of that 30-year loan. So each year, we're actually going to be making more and more and more money through equity stake in the house. All right, so we're gonna talk about appreciation. Before we get into just typical appreciation rates, year over year growth, we're gonna talk about what's called forced appreciation. And since we renovated this house, we basically brought it from the 1990s to the 21st century. And we modernized it, we added some beds to be able to accommodate more people. And this is in an extremely hot market in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. So, forced appreciation is typically when you make upgrades, right? So think any new appliances, new light fixtures, new toilets, you redo bathrooms, new tiles, new floors, tons of different things. There's other ways to add appreciation, forced appreciation too, which is adding bedrooms. So if you make, maybe a spare room that was a second living room, you turn that into a fourth bedroom. So you went from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, or you can add a bathroom or a half bath. That's typically called forced appreciation because the house is going to be worth more based on that value. And when appraisers come look at houses, they typically look at similar houses based on similar square footage, similar lot size, similar amenities, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and things like that, and how modern it is. And then they compare with other comps in the area that sold recently, and that's where they're going to get the new appraised value. So remember, we bought the house at $550,000. We invested $49,000. So let's bring that up to $599,000. If I'm looking online, which I am all the time, I'm looking at similar houses of this stature, what's called the after repair value of the house that we just flipped. And those houses are selling anywhere from $650,000 to $900,000. So just to be conservative with you guys, I'm gonna stick on the lower end of it, right? So forced appreciation, we basically forced $51,000 of appreciation on this house because I have high confidence that if I listed it today, at a minimum, it would sell for $650,000 and probably be competitive because of the market that we're in. It would probably sell for a lot more than that. But we're hanging on to it because of the cash flow that it could produce. So we have $51,000 in forced appreciation. So I'm predicting the home value to be right around $650K right now. Now we need to talk about regular appreciation over the next 12 months. And in this market in Gatlinburg, it has been between 8 and 12% year over year growth in home appreciation, which is insane. I don't know if that's sustainable, probably not. So typically when I'm evaluating properties, I just have a built-in 3% year over year appreciation over the long term to help ballpark what that investment could grow to. And it's likely gonna be a lot higher than this, especially over the next 2 years. So 3% of $650,000 for the first year alone, we're expecting an appreciation value worth $19,500. Now this is what's called unrealized gain or unrealized equity, because you don't realize that until you either refinance and get the house appraised or you put it on the market and sell it. But we still use these figures when calculating our total return on investment. So for the first year, we include both those numbers of $51,000 in forced appreciation and then $19,500, which brings us to $70,500 in appreciation in the first year. So in order to calculate total return on investment for this real estate investment, we're going to add up the net cash flow for the year, the amount paid down in principal through loan payoff, and then the appreciation value that we're estimating it to be. Then you take that number and you divide it by the total amount you invested out of pocket up front. So for this investment for the first year, we're expecting $80,508 in cash flow, $10,500 in principal pay down, and $70,500 in appreciation. So the net gain during year one is $161,508. And in order to calculate the total return on investment, we take that $161,508 divided by the initial investment of $107,052. And that brings us to a 150% return on our investment. Now I'll surely take that number over the projected 8 to 10% return that we're told we're gonna see in the stock market in the first year of our investment. I share these numbers to be transparent with you guys. I have no intention of coming on here on this channel to brag about any particular investment, because I speak with dozens of people who are also interested in real estate and just need the extra information to get started, because I've spent years researching this stuff and figuring out how to make my money work hard for me, and I want to share that with you guys and let you know it is totally possible. I've only been doing this for a little over a year now, and we're seeing amazing returns on our investment, and I cannot recommend it enough. So if you guys will, please like and subscribe below. I truly appreciate it. I'm gonna be sharing all sorts of great information with you guys every single week. So I hope to see you guys again in future videos.